Google get the best of the best talents in the world.
Google.
Staying in between them, do you feel any kind of imposter syndrome when you stay in between those bright minds?
Imposter syndrome is when you really settle down with the things and you have nothing more to do, or in your mind you've just restricted yourself to not think beyond or allow yourself to go beyond your comfort zone. So that's when probably that might hit.
Because all the people cannot work in startup. Not everyone can work in MNCs.
It doesn't just stem from the fact that it's not my job. It also stems from the fact that they don't want to step on each other's toes.
There is one important thing that I wanted to talk about is the evolution of agile application, lifecycle and continuous delivery that was orchestrated by the DevOps people. So did it impacted the database administrators?
Every innovation that came in the evolution of our lives or technology for that matter always brought us to this question: is it going to replace humans? Is it going to replace developers, or is it going to replace artists?
As an Indian woman in global tech leadership scene, did you ever felt like you were underestimated because you're a woman or something like that?
You underestimate her.
But it's sad to be in that place in the first place, because when we don't have a men in tech group, there's no need for it, right? When there is a women in tech group, I'm not saying that it's not bad that it's there, because it's needed all the more now, because we want to encourage, we want to create that awareness.
Yes.
But nobody feels fundamentally great about, okay, there are like 4 seats reserved for you. This will wait until we find the best fit. Keep pushing the boundaries, ignore everything else. That's the only way to empower yourself at this moment.
We don't know if that is a woman, we don't know if that is a man, we don't know if he's black or she's white. We don't care about it, but all we care about is the beauty of the code that he has written. Hi, this is Saksham and welcome back to this podcast, and this is the second episode of this podcast named as Dream in Tech, and today we have Abirami with us, along due, and I think you are the best person that I can talk to about database unfiltered. You have spent like 18 years in the era of databases. You have seen evolution and everything. Something that excites me about you is that you're currently working at Google. When everyone thinks about Google, all they imagine is big colorful bean bags with great wall, and what we could see from the vlogging is the great food they are serving. So what do you think, how is it like to working in a Google?
Hi, thanks for having me, and it's a real pleasure to be your guest. And yes, to answer your question, it's been, yes, all the flashy things are there.
Yeah.
So definitely I have to +1 to those nice things, because that give you the feeling of, all the pleasantries are nice. Yes, the whole, it's exciting. It's an exciting feeling to be part of something that scale, something that brings transformative technology to the world. So yes, I'm excited every day thinking about that and getting to work on all the, not just the around flashy objects, but also on the flashy things in technology. So I love it. Those are not the only things per se. There are days when I don't even get to see some of those things, spend time around some of those things, like when I say the great food and great thing. Not that it's so busy, it keeps us busy all the time. It's not that way. It's just that you're so engrossed in the things that you love and so much in technology to keep spending your time at. So yeah, it's a great thing to have, I would say.
So I think Google get the best of the best talents in the world. Staying in between them, do you feel any kind of imposter syndrome when you stay in between those bright minds?
That's possible, easily. It's just that I would say it's motivating. It's rather inspiring. So day in and out, to be amongst folks who think ahead of times, who think wiser, smarter, and make the right decisions. Every day you learn something new from someone new. So it's a great place to be that way. I find it more inspiring. The spirit of competition is always good. Imposter syndrome is when you really settle down with the things and you have nothing more to do, or in your mind you've just restricted yourself to not think beyond or allow yourself to go beyond your comfort zone. So that's when probably that might hit, and it's a possibility. I wouldn't rule that out completely, but I find it inspiring and motivating and a learning journey throughout.
Looking at your whole journey, you started from Infosys, and then you went to IBM, and then Citrix, and then finally the Google. You spent like total overall 18 years into the corporate now. What is that one advice that you would like to give young budding developers, I must say, who are looking to work in startups where the theme is about quickly switching the jobs and making more and more money out of it? So what is that one advice that you would like to give them?
First of all, I'm glad because you just let one more year slip out of your out of my experience, but that's totally fine. But yeah, I just crossed 19 years now. I don't know how time flew like that. But my thought about the folks, the budding engineers who the trend now is to switch and to keep moving, and also not just moving companies but also changing directions and changing course or track from the things they started off doing. I would say if you're sure about your likes and dislikes at certain point, because life is a journey, you learn not just outside, you also learn yourself more and more as time evolves, right? So it's always good to know what you want. And if it has come to a point where you know that this is the sort of thing that I should stop doing, if it doesn't serve you, so be it. You change track. You no longer want to be in the tech world. You no longer want to be doing engineering stuff or whatever things you started off doing, then change is not a problem. But if that is just for specific reasons, and you don't know what the reasons are and you're not sure if that is a permanent feeling, then I would ask them to address that and rethink.
Do you think young developers are not keeping a clarity in today's mind? Like if they want to work in a startup or if they want to work in an MNC? Because later on in their corporate life, they always complain that, hey, this is not my job. This is the job of maybe QA. Or, if I'm making mistake, this is how it goes in MNC. So do you think this is happening because they are not keeping a clarity in their mind that where they actually want to work? Because all the people cannot work in startup. Not everyone can work in MNCs. So where do you think the problem is lying at?
There's no problem in any specific area per se. I think it's in the mindset. People who are passionate about learning, they learn no matter where. If you're in a startup, you get the opportunity to, of course, explore a larger scope of things because you probably are the only one or maybe a couple of folks out there helping you out with stuff. Whereas in an organization with a lot of folks around you and with teams to solve specific problems, yes, there would be a thought about where's the boundary. It doesn't just stem from the fact that it's not my job. It also stems from the fact that they don't want to step on each other's toes. So there's multiple limiting factors, but I would say don't limit anything just because of all these constraints. If it interests you, if you think there's a better way to do it, of course, there's nothing wrong in having a friendly conversation with another team member or learning about it, or even exciting them about what you know. So there's, I think it's a mindset.
What does the life looks like now? Like you are in Google from last 3 years. So how does the life of Abirami looks like? What do you do when you wake up and how does your week goes? What's your routine? What's the flow in your life now?
Not just in Google, just in the world of technology, in the industry is changing so rapidly. Like every other day, there is something new. So my day at Google, where things get made, right, technology-wise, it's exciting. Every day is as new as the day I joined. There's so many new things to learn about. So I'm always excited. I wake up with already, I go to bed almost solving something and I wake up thinking about whether it's solved or not. Sometimes the stuff still running and then I'll have to wake up and go check the logs as to what's happening and stuff like that. It's really intriguing and fascinating to work in the world of data, which is my focus area as well. Yeah. So yes, I'm excited day in and out with new ideas. If it's not new ideas, I'm looking at new things to learn, new services, new tools and new products and things that interest me, not just from Google's perspective, anything in technology perspective. So
And then we see you traveling every day.
Not every day, but yeah, here and there I do travel quite often, more often than I used to before Google times. Yes, sometimes we all get invited to speak and in specific areas of our expertise or share our thoughts if we are interested. Sometimes I do submit papers and get selected. Because sometimes you want to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
We always want to get validated, no
Yes.
matter where you are and what you do. Not that I'm somewhere. It's just, I'm saying it's a journey. Everyone goes through the process of validation. They want to feel chosen. So I go and submit papers in
Yeah.
some conferences and stuff like that. And I feel happy when it gets selected. So I do talk as well. I've seen a lot of difference with that, because one, delivering or getting a point through across to to a set of people. Sometimes it's a few hundred, sometimes it's a few thousands. It's amazing to see how far these opportunities have taken me. So I'm really appreciative of it. So travel I enjoy when it is about interacting with developers. And
It's still very exciting for the freshers to work at Google today. What was your first feeling when the confirmation came in that, hey, you got selected and then now you'll be working at Google?
Funny story. I was going through. I think I got COVID during the time. So my last round of coding interview was because it's
How
all
much total
virtual.
rounds were there?
I think I had about 6 rounds, six or seven, if I'm not wrong. Out of which 4 rounds were coding.
Okay.
Different people, and then.
So, what was this first feeling? Because, when you must have told at your home that now I'll be working for Google, and it's definitely a bigger pool of talent and great people out there, and it's still a dream for people to work for Google. So, how was that excitement? How was that actual feeling? Like, what were you doing at that time, and what were the flow of emotions at that time?
It was terrific. Amazing experience, of course, to get to know that. Over a series of rounds. So going through that round, you would know how did you do in that particular round.
How many
as a
rounds were
feeling.
there?
There were about 7 rounds, if I'm not wrong, 4 of which were coding.
Okay.
And others were role-based experience, expertise, and other things, systems, a lot of things about that. And there was one with public speaking kind of round as well towards the end. So yes, leadership rounds as well. So after all those rounds, you would know how you did, but at the same time, it's Google. So it never felt like it was good enough at the interview level stages, right? Because you don't know what goes in there, because it's my 3rd time I'm interviewing for Google. So I just wanted to be very sure until I really hear that from them. I wasn't going to be happy about it beforehand, right? So I was waiting for the news.
So, who was the first person you called after the confirmation came in from Google?
I just told my mom. She was like, we were there at home. So I told my mom that this happened. So she was really excited. She knew the journey. She was in the journey with me, right? Because right from the time I was taking the interviews and other things, because that was COVID, no one could step out.
Yeah.
So
Reminding me of your journey, tell me a little bit about your journey, like where do you come from and how did your love for databases came up? Like I could already see a smile coming on your face when I said databases. So how did it all started?
So I started off with databases back in the day when I was just out of school. Right before I started college, even from school times. We had computer science as a separate, as an individual subject, where we start doing, like, we started doing basics of coding, basics of programming, and other things. So of course that time it was very introductory, like very basic if I think about it right now. But then it was still interesting for me. It was very engaging for me. So I know that this is what I want to do because I enjoyed doing it. As much as I enjoyed listening to stories in other subjects like, say, history or geography for that matter, science, where stories are involved. And math for that matter, but math is not much of a story. But when your instructor or your teacher can narrate formula like stories, then that's great too. So I was mostly a listener who likes to listen to stories kind of person. So it intrigued me. But then out of all of that, I enjoyed computer science differently, uniquely, in a way that I did not think about other things. So I knew this is what I wanted to do right from the get-go. So right after I finished school, I started enrolling in a computer software like institute, even before I started college. So that's when I started off the database journey, because back in the day, I started with Visual Basic and Oracle. So programming with these two. To bring in a lot of application or business value to some of the things, day-to-day things that were going around me at that time, or at least the people in the institute. So we would build games, we would build applications to monitor and maintain inventory and stuff like that solve people's lives in that room, kind of thing.
Do you still remember the first thing that you did with the help of databases?
Yeah, I built a registration or guest management system for one of the college's events. So that was the first thing. That was with Visual Basic and Oracle.
We are hearing this from a long time, that data is gold. We heard this from Tim Berners-Lee as well. This was his advice, that start collecting data and then you'll make millions. Followed by the big tech giants today, whether it is Facebook or Google or any other people, they are sitting on a massive scale of data. For us, database is like, somebody is throwing a query to get a data out of some collection. But then you have a greater experience towards database. Today in this video, we are going to unfold database completely unfiltered. We are going to see that how it is a fear to a lot of people today. So if I say I'm a 5-year-old guy, please tell me and make me understand that what is database.
Okay. Let's say you have all these toys. I think 5-year-olds still play with toys. I would hope. Okay. So you have all these toys of different colors. Some of them fit on top of each other. Some of them are just lying there, and so maybe you have books. So you're tasked with arranging them, and you have to remember where you have arranged them or stored them, so that you can come back and search for it. So where do you go to store them, to arrange them? You look for a shelf, you look for a cupboard or a place to put those books in or those toys in. So I would say that is what a database is. It is not just a place to store, but also store it efficiently in a way that you can retrieve when you need it. Or it is easy for you to put it, at the same time retrieve. So that is what, in simple terms, what a database is. A place to store and make your life easy when you want to come back and take it.
If we talk about your journey towards database into your college days, you must have been through DBMS.
Yeah.
It's again a nightmare of a lot of people, but a fundamental to many. And how do you think DBMS has changed your life? And was it still your favorite subject, or
Yes.
like you were terrified with it? Mostly
No.
people are terrified with databases and the DBMS for sure.
I would be surprised if someone tells me that they were terrified of databases, because I think, at least for me, that was that is still my most favorite area. You already know that, but even in college, that was my most favorite paper. That was my most favorite subject. The subject that I used to research a lot about, at the same time spend a lot of time reading about, paying attention to in the classes. So I was all for it. Yeah.
What is that one advice that you would like to give to the students who are still finding it difficult to understand about DBMS?
But want to understand DBMS, I would
Yeah,
think.
of course. must be depending upon their interest, but
Interest.
any which way they want to pursue something related to database, because database is still having a lot of area for growth, even in today's world. Even when AI has kicked in, whatever we are doing today, it's nothing without database. Basically, the whole internet is running on database today. So what is that one advice that you would like to give to the students who are facing it difficult to understand the subjects like DBMS?
DBMS as a paper covered a lot of things, not just on the surface, but also about why a specific database, or the storage engines, the reasoning behind them, why choose one over the other. So it could look like a lot, but again, I would say make the approach simple for you. What about database do you want to carry forward in your career or in your work or anything for that matter. Whether you want to build applications with database or you want to build a database, you want to understand it from that perspective. In any case, understanding the fundamentals, the foundations, that understanding is really important.
One of the question that is coming in my mind that suppose I don't have any knowledge about DBMS and today I want to start learning about databases. Let's say I want to learn the SQL or maybe MongoDB or any other database. So do you think can I learn those things without learning about DBMS?
Yeah. So the thing is, you can learn, but you can use it in your application as well. But when you have to make a choice, it may or may not be an informed decision because you didn't learn the basics. You don't know why, how generally database systems are made, what goes behind it, behind the scenes, and again, why would you choose one over the other? Of course, if you want to just blindly start off learning any database for that matter, because you're building a demo application or you're just learning to build an application which you want to which you want to plug in a database. Of course, you can learn anything. It's more than learning. It's quite easy with all this interfaces and everything right now. Agents and everything available. Integrating a database to your application is quite easy. But when you have to make a choice and thinking about scaling your application in the long run, it has to be an informed decision. Not just for that, you will also make the right design for your database itself, or bringing in from the time you source your data to the time you process and get the results from the data, you will have to take a lot of things into consideration. All of that you'll understand only if you know the fundamentals right. If you want to be in the data area, if you want to build with data or even build data, it is important to understand the foundations of database management.
That's great.
System.
I think any day a company would prefer a guy having a skill set of DBMS plus the knowledge of today's databases over the one who is just having the knowledge about how to write the database and these kind of things. Tell me a little bit about the evolution of databases, because you are having a great experience towards it. And today we are here to unfold the whole database thing right here. So you started from where? Like what used to come in your days, like Oracle or SQL? Like what were you using back in those days?
Yeah, I started off, like I said, with Visual Basic and Oracle. I can definitely talk about the evolution of that based on the things that I've seen. So I may miss out a few important things, even though you make it sound like my days, but it's still things that I have seen. So that's the evolution I can talk to. So yeah, there may be things that may not be included that ought to be there probably. But yeah, from my thing, I can definitely say I started off with Oracle in my when I started off with Visual Basic and stuff like that. At the same time, there were occasions I have used DB2. IBM's DB2.
Yeah.
But it was all relational back in the day. And eventually moved on to SQL Server. And then here and there, I've touched on other databases as well. Like, to name a few, there was MySQL. There were other things. Definitely a lot. And there was a time I was using SAP HANA. So quite a few, because every single thing had a different aspect to it in terms of how the storage engine itself works and why one is preferred over the other. Sometimes it is just for learning purposes, just learning a new database. It was like that. But for the most part, Oracle was heavily used early on, and then it was like I said, the SAP HANA, surrounded by all the business objects and business intelligence stuff. So there is another interface between your intelligence reports and dashboards and analytics and the database itself. So how would you do that? The layer that gives the meaning to your data, right? So a lot of things had evolved, and then came the document databases, semi-structured databases. Yeah. I have early experience in MongoDB as well, the community edition times.
But let me just first ask that if I try getting my hands onto the databases, should I still get started with SQL? Should I still learn SQL?
Yes, it is a good place to start learning how to use databases. I would still say if you want to learn databases as a concept or what is and everything from the scratch, I would still say go back in time and learn from the foundations of why, what is the evolution. Because this is one of the things that I've also started off with in my book, which is the fundamentals of database design with the Google Cloud databases. So in that book, I have talked about the evolution of databases. Coincidentally, it just came to my mind that I have to mention that. I also talk about how it started in the Stone Age, not just now. It dates back to the time of monkeys. Like, no, I'm just saying that because of how old the time is that I've mentioned there. So it's about numbers, right? You start off counting things, you start off storing it somewhere. So that's when the concept of database started. We probably didn't call it databases for sure. We didn't have the same mechanism we have right now to do that. But the smart way to calculate, the smart way to store, smart way to index, smart way to search, all that existed even before databases as a name became coined or became a thing.
And do you think with time, things have changed with the cloud databases? Like they were a big eruption to the industry of databases. They literally changed the whole era how we were able to see the databases from a structured query language to the whole new paradigm shift of the databases. So please tell me a little bit about this transformation of databases.
The cloud-based transformation. So it's amazing. It's all for the right reasons. So I really enjoy the transformation because now you can focus on the things that really matter to your business as a business owner or as an application developer. You can think about adding innovation, creating value, or making the best design decisions with your database and your data, and make sure you're not just building functionalities and features, you're building high performance systems and highly efficient systems and applications based on what is available to you, because you get to focus on things that matter. Instead of focusing on management of the underlying infrastructure itself, like maintenance, monitoring, observing, and so many things that you patching that you do when the cloud was not a thing, or self-managed databases. You would have to take care of a lot of things which you don't have to do in cloud databases. So the transformation is really great. There's no downside to it. I don't see any downside to it.
Do you think in earlier days, poor designing of schema was a big pain to everyone and no good migration practices were followed? So do you remember any of such incident where this was a pain for you? The poor schema designing. This was a very common issue back in those days.
Why back in those days? It's an issue even now. Like if you don't design, going back to the point of just using a database because you can get things quick and dirty will be quick and dirty. You can get it quick, but it may not be everything that you wanted, or it may not scale, or it may not be efficient. For certain cases, you might not even know. There may be, it might be a write intense application, but then you would have designed it for something that reads faster, but it's writes literally slows down the system. So stuff like that happen all the time. The problem is you discover that only after your business rolls out or your application gets high traffic or heavy traffic, and then only when it hits production. In larger companies, this kind of scenarios come into picture only after it hits production and people start using it. That's when, and at that point, it becomes really difficult to go back and see why this issue. Again, it's a whole lot of exercise that you have to do the drill of narrowing down. So I would always say you have to reverse. I mean, it is not even reverse engineering anymore. It's just engineering it the right way. Start with the design. Start with the results in mind. So yeah, you can call it reverse engineering.
Okay, then after this, I remember NoSQL kicked in. What was the need of NoSQL, and people who are watching this podcast, can you make them quickly understand about what is NoSQL?
Sure. So there was a time we were talking about the SQL databases and how it's still important to understand the basics, right? So from that point, we evolved into applications that are for example, the e-commerce applications that we see and use in a day-to-day thing to order stuff or to check out stuff, search, and all those things. So at that point, we needed data or database or system that supports a certain structure. It needs a certain structure, but it not always the same structure. So the common misconception is also, or even we've all been there. We've all thought at some point that NoSQL means there's no structure in the data set as well, just like the relational database. Yes and no. To a certain extent, it still has a structure, but not the same. Not that all records should follow the same structure. Each record, or what you want to call a document for that matter, will follow a structure. It may or may not be the same structure as the previous document. So that's how it's fundamentally different. It still has a structure. So that's why we call it semi-structured database as well.
Okay, so would you like to explain it in a non-technical way, that what was the need of NoSQL and how it came in and helped us?
Definitely. So for the SQL database, we have seen that there is a certain definite structure to it. There was a time when we started heavily relying on semi-structured, like not entirely unstructured, but semi-structured, where there is an object. Like let's say you want to store objects, like all these e-commerce sites do. We have objects that are on sale, right? Like we are surfing that for specific things that we want. Maybe you want to place an order for a table, or you want to place an order for a chair. So your database is capable of storing both within the same scope, but then a table and a chair, these have legs. Whereas you want to store an object like a mic, which does not have those properties, but still it is the same. It is an object that you want to store within the same container, or what we want to call that, right?
Yes.
So that is exactly where semi-structured database came into existence, or the NoSQL database, the need for it came into existence, where we don't want to have we don't want to first of all query in a conventional way. Of course, you can still what we don't call queries anymore, but still there are some structured ways to query on semi-structured databases too. But the core point is you're able to store documents of similar type, but with different characteristics. For example, like I said, the table has multiple characteristics. It may have a specific characteristic that a mic does not have, but still they are both the same object, same type of objects, which you want to store within the same scope. So that's where the need for NoSQL databases came into existence. And also, if I have to go deeper into the need for it from an infrastructure or performance perspective, scalability came into picture. That doesn't mean SQL databases are not scalable. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
It's just that at that time, the understanding and the need for a functional need for storing objects of different characteristics within the same component was the main reason, along with the scalability and other performance aspects that came into existence.
With scalability, I still remember I read a research paper of how Discord has changed its infra and has migrated its database like twice. Why do you think that problem occurs? Like they were not able to measure their success, or was it also because of the decision that startups take? And there are few startups who are running in the wave of open source. So why do you think that happens actually?
Decision. So I'm not just speaking to this case. This may have been a conscious, informed decision at some point. Maybe they wanted to try out something and then they turned out. So I don't really know the entire story. Like I have not read that aspect of it. But then typically this happens a lot in startups, and not just in startups, even in experienced enterprises. You can see this kind of scenarios when the design decision and the design considerations are not informed, like well thought through. They are not based off what they want to, like I said, like what do you output first, result first. Think about what you want to achieve, or what kind of traffic, or what kind of expectation, or the goal, audacious goal that you have for your application. The response time, if you take, for instance, whether it's in 10 milliseconds now, you want to change it to 2 milliseconds down the line, or stuff like that. Or you're looking at a customer base of 100,000 now, you want that to grow like 10x or something like that. So go with that in mind and see what serves that, whether that which is going to serve you at that point is still applicable at this stage, and start your design from that perspective. Again, this is not the only consideration. There are other aspects as well. You'd be surprised. There are aspects like, cost, no one is surprised. That's not a surprising aspect.
Yeah, I think from 2012 to 2020, like it was an era of migration.
Yeah.
what do you think must be the cost of that? And when we talk about such big companies like Discord,
Yeah.
what do you think must be the cost of that migration?
So yeah, not to put a specific number or anything, but then the cost is not just about the choice of the choice
Like
of the
not in
move.
terms of like
Yeah.
the money, but then also about the time and the
Time, yeah,
team and
cost. If you think about it, yes, of course, it's a huge migration. Would like something that has scaled from something that's very small to 10x customer base or something. All of a sudden, there's huge traffic and there's user base and everything. You're talking about data that needs at least planning. If you go with proper planning and execution, the migration could easily take a few hundreds of members of teams. And easily 3 years of migration is something that you can think of. So all that accounts for cost, not just these things, right? So it's always good to start off with the design considerations in mind. Cost is one aspect, and cost is not just the cost of the product or the cost you'd be paying to leverage that product. Cost also involves all these things: the training cost for your team to upskill or to change the track for they're probably familiar with something else, you want to familiarize them with something new, so that it involves that as well. It involves costs for the time it takes and everything. So all of these things come into picture along with design considerations in terms of other integrations, whether this will fit in that in some, maybe there is some integration that's critical, that's inevitable for your business. Maybe there is a choice of database that you made which is not supportive of that. So many things go into the picture. So whatever is important to you, that needs to be vetted out and well thought through.
coming back to the era of evolution of databases, how would you like to define the document databases? Like, what are document databases in a layman's language?
We just talked about the NoSQL database, so that's the thing. That's the definition for document databases as well. So what in terms of evolution, like I said, the need for variety or the need for different structural structures in data, the data structure itself, that is what caused the evolution of having a NoSQL database and to have it at a different scale and performance. But definitely this is definitely not to say that SQL or relational databases are not scalable. That's not my argument, because definitely you can have highly scalable and heavily distributed relational database system as well. It's just that I'm talking about how all of this happened at the same time, because e-commerce and the need for variety of data or variety of characteristics for the data that you have is what brought in the scale as well along with it. It all happened at the same time. That doesn't mean you couldn't have done that with your SQL. You can still do that. You can still do a well-structured, you can structure the data in a way and still, because modern SQL cloud-based transactional or relational databases are capable of supporting that as well. There are databases like Spanner, Google Cloud Spanner, for instance. It's able to store not just not just structured information, right? You can also use it as a graph database system. BigQuery, for that matter, is able to store relational. It is able to store JSON, like document data types, NoSQL as well, like NoSQL. But you can query BigQuery. You can store unstructured data like images, videos, and stuff like that in a certain format in BigQuery. So modern databases have changed the
This
theory.
also reminds me that we humans are impatient. And that's why we came up with distributed and real-time databases. So would you like to tell me, or would you like to put a little bit of light on how these things came in and how it changed the world, how social media got changed, how the real-time graph of, you can say, share market and these things were happening after these real-time databases kicked in?
Yeah, I think impatience is key to innovation in a certain way, as much as necessity is, because necessity, you're waiting, whereas impatience is in a way good too. I mean, if you can afford to solve for it, then amazing. You've got yourself a shiny new thing the world will chase next. So I think that is a great revolution, or that's a great transformation that was needed, like the social networking applications, the apps that relate the graph relationships between people. I think that's fascinating to me even today. So, I mean, it is still not a very well sorted problem, is what I would say. There's so much innovation left to happen there. So that's why I always say there's so much innovation left to happen in the area of graph databases. We have achieved a lot. We've come a far way. We've come a long way. We have solved a lot with it. But anyway, graph database aside, you asked about distributed and the real time as well. Yes, so it became the need of the hour. Imagine the Internet of Things, the IoT data from sensors or game analytics, sports analytics. How important it is, how critical it is. You see game, we didn't see cricket the way it is seen these days. Like we got updates. I still remember a time, this was, I think I was in my 10th standard public exam results. There was some really critical World Cup was going on at that time. So so it was a decision making match. We wanted to know whether India made it to semifinals or made it through semifinals, something like that. I think made it to semifinals. I was more interested in knowing the score for that and the result for that than the 10th standard results, to be honest. Because I know there's only one way I'd know the result going to school next day, but this one I would know in TV. So I was, so when we are watching that, we would be impatient to know what is the run rate and everything. We would solve for it in pen and paper.
Yeah.
But now that's not the case, right? I mean, run rate is anyway shown, but it'll take some time. They didn't show it ball to ball, over to over. You'd have to wait till the end of a break or something like that for you to see that. Do you remember this?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Don't tell me I was not born in that time.
I still remember the run rate was shown after right at the sixth ball or by the end of the over.
Yeah. So, but now it's like ball to ball. You want to know like everything right at that moment, right? So sports analytics became a big thing. And there are fans out there, like all of us, like we want to know so much more, like which player can approach what season, which pitch really better than somebody else.
Yeah.
So all that is computerized. How do you do that? Data. Yeah. What do you do with the data? You can't just do data in the air, right? You need databases. So that's where this distributed systems, real-time systems, sensor data, everything comes into picture. You know how many Hawkeye cameras and all these things and sensors and cameras are put in place to get that kind of information and store it. Imagine now the amount and the volume and the speed at which these data need to be stored and processed. So that's why.
There is one important thing that I wanted to talk about is the evolution of agile application, lifecycle, and continuous delivery that was orchestrated by the DevOps people. So did it impacted the database administrators?
So I would say not entirely, but yes, you would see a certain, because automation at any time, any innovation comes, like every innovation that came in the evolution of our lives or technology for that matter, always brought us to this question: is it going to replace humans? Is it going to replace developers, or is it going to replace artists? Questions keep coming like that at every innovation that's so big, that's so sought after, or something that has such a big hype, right? So definitely CI/CD at some point, because of the agile drive and everything, the safe agile drive and so many other things, CI/CD came into picture because people didn't want to release applications they don't want to take a month to release a feature. They don't want to take few months. Not 2 weeks also was not okay. There were records of people releasing by the hour. Like, how does that happen? CI/CD, right? You want to do continuous integration, continuous delivery, the entire pipeline, the entire unit testing, system integration testing, everything happens in that amount of time and things need to be delivered. I'm not saying every company adopted the 1 hour, the hourly delivery strategy, but then whatever it is, your time is, whether you're going from 3 months to 3 weeks or 3 weeks to 3 hours, it's still a transformation. So CI/CD became a big thing. So with CI/CD came in automation of a lot of systems, which originally the admins used to do manually back in the day. And then those got automated. I mean, I'm not saying that those people were not doing anything after that they wanted to do. There were other things where their expertise was much needed. But yes, it did have an impact for sure.
If you talk about the databases in today's world, we are heavily moving towards AI native databases. Just for our viewers, please make us understand about what is AI native databases.
I would like to call them as AI. So databases that that inherently support AI, advanced AI, right? So any database that is capable of bringing AI to the data where the data resides, rather than taking your data to your programming language, to your application framework, and doing all that processing into APIs and interfaces. Instead of doing all that, bringing AI to your data where your data resides is what I would call an AI native database, or database that supports AI typically.
So, what's your favorite AI native database today?
So I have all of Google Cloud databases, by the way. Most of Google Cloud databases support AI inherently. You have Cloud SQL, you have Spanner, Firestore, AlloyDB, you have BigQuery and all that. Cloud storage, even though it's not a traditional database in a traditional way, but it's a storage for unstructured, like blob objects. My favorite would be AlloyDB, Spanner, BigQuery. Even though there's people always debate about, oh, it's not a database, it's so much more than a database. Yes, it's amazing. BigQuery rocks and BigQuery rules. I love it. The thing is, for me, fundamentally, it still can store database. So when I'm talking about databases, I would like to include that as well. But it is so much more than even a data warehouse. There's so much analytics and processing you can do on the data. While supporting agentic applications as well within the scope of data itself. But yeah, my favorites are AlloyDB, Spanner, and BigQuery.
Do you think SQL queries will be written by us like 5 years from now, because we are witnessing the era of AI now?
In my opinion, yes, we will be. We will get SQL queries written with a lot of support because there are support systems in the form of agents, code assistants, and so on and so forth. There are MCP servers now for databases, which means all you have to, you don't even have to connect to your database to understand your data or your database, the structure and everything. You can talk to the MCP servers that those databases host, which talk to you about the data themselves, the structure, the schema, what data is available. So those things can be done. But still, if you are enabling your business to handle the requests for the user, you are bound to write queries. But you're not alone in the journey. You need to understand the basics. You need to know when something is wrong, because that level of knowledge is definitely important. So you need to know the basics, but you will have support. You already have support to write that kind of queries for sure. So because with all these natural language to queries and other things, other features that the modern databases support, like AlloyDB and Cloud SQL, BigQuery easily support NL to SQL, which is natural language to SQL queries. However, if you don't know the basics, if something is wrong, you would not know that you're trying to get analytics on your business, and if your query is fundamentally wrong, you're getting a number, you'll be thrown off track throughout because you don't know it's wrong. So you need to know. You still need to be the boss of your system and your design.
Exactly, and especially of the database.
Yeah.
This also reminds me of one of the biggest debate that is going on now, that is AI going to replace the developers, or it is going to make them 10x smarter?
The second one, 10x smarter.
But I think one of the things that most of the interviewers are facing the problem in an area where their fundamentals are not clear, and we are getting more dependent on AI. So keeping that thing in mind, what is that one thing that you would like to advise a 21-year-old who is stepping inside the world of databases, that how to learn this world of databases, and what should be the correct roadmap for that? Things have definitely changed in the world of AI. We have Gemini, and a lot of coding assistants are already there. So
certainly. So the first thing that you asked me about, when I said whether it will replace or they'll be 10x smarter, I instantly said the second one. But I need to add a little context to that, because you brought up the point about interviewers saying that the fundamentals are not clear. So that the opportunity for being 10x smarter is there. The opportunity to be replaced, the possibility to be replaced is also there. So you choose. So it's up to it's in the hands of the developers to choose one or two. Because you can. So that brings me to the context of the second part of the question, which is about the 21-year-old. So what I would do if I was if I'm 21 right now, and all of these tools and agents and access to all these MCP servers that I can leverage and understand the data, is that I'll get my job done faster. When I say job, like building applications in a smarter and well-informed way is easy now. I would use a lot of this time to understand and know a lot of these utilities, these tools and support system, the code assistants or anything, to learn more about the basics, the things that I could not do as a 21-year-old, because I was passionate about the things that I did, and I've always been that way. So I was always moving from one objective to another when it came to what I'm building next, what problem we are solving with technology for the business world, not just for our customers, but for the customers of our customers. So that's how we think, right? But having said all that, I always had the feeling that if there was a possibility to learn the basics of, so if I want to write something like a database engine of my own, because I have some ideas. I know I've used a few, 4 or 5 of these databases, but I have some idea that is probably not there in one of these. Maybe I should take some time out and build the behind the scenes part of it, build the engine for that matter, or have an indexing algorithm that's slightly different or works in a different way. I'm not just going to blame time for it. It is also about the knowledge, the fundamentals of like basically as an engineer who's an application developer or a software engineer or developer, I knew how to put these pieces together and why this is being put for the problem I'm solving. But if I have to address the part that I'm using and build something else for it, there's a lot more learning that goes into it. And I would say that I didn't always have the resources and the time to do that. And even if I wanted to do that, I'd probably sit around with a lot of links to go through, a lot of books around me and start building that. But now it's the tip of my fingers. Like I could use Notebook LM to bring in a bunch of articles, white papers and research papers and learn everything that has been researched already, the results, the analysis, the understanding. I can even convert that into a podcast and I can listen to it in an hour's drive. That's how rapid and how fast things are. So I would use the time to learn about the basics and probably build something that's fundamentally passionate, interesting, and important to this time and age.
So, looking at the necessity and witnessing about this movement that is going on among the big players in the industry today, like Facebook, Google, and Microsoft, that is women in tech. As an Indian woman in global tech leadership scene, did you ever felt like you were underestimated because you're a woman or something like that?
Over the years, the feeling of having been underestimated has been there. But now, I mean, not always, but it has been there here and there. But it's a feeling that's what I'm emphasizing on the word feeling, because we don't know what perspective the other players in the room had. Maybe they didn't feel like they're underestimating. It's just something how we perceive it, right? It's a reflection. But thinking back, like reflecting on it, I think it's a possibility because of the parity, the number of women to men in the room is probably not equal. That was always the scene. That doesn't mean that it's a game of underestimation. It means that there is not enough not enough women in the room, and that is a possibility for you to, when you hear a no, even if it's an honest no for an honest reason, there is a lot of chances that you feel this way. You may feel left out, or you feel alone, or maybe they really wanted to underestimate you. So we don't know. We want to give people the benefit of the doubt. So let's just go with, yes, the feelings, yes, but whether or not they marched in that approach, I don't know. It is a possibility, but that's where, when you say women in tech, it brings me to another question. That thing itself it exists. The phrase women in tech exists for all the right reasons. Mm-hmm. It is good that it is there because, like I said, the number of
like
folks,
the ratio is way far away.
It's so vastly, it's not equal, right? So that difference will definitely be addressed by this, but it's sad to be in that place in the first place. Because when we don't have a men in tech group, there's no need for it, right? When there is a women in tech group, I'm not saying that it's not bad that it's there, because it's needed all the more now, because we want to encourage, we want to create that awareness.
Yes.
But nobody feels fundamentally great about, okay, there are like 4 seats reserved for you. This will wait until we find the best fit. It's not the case. That's not happening only if a person is completely talented or in fact fit in for something. She gets, women get hired or women get given that opportunity. But then,
Yeah, like you mean even if she is talented enough, still she has to go in that reserved seat. Is that's what you mean?
no, I'm saying that if there are reserved seats, it doesn't sound nice
Yes.
because it's a great gesture that there are reserved seats, but it's sad that that has to be the situation. If the supply is more, I think that situation will change automatically. I think we have to push our boundaries as women on our own for one. Of course, I'm not belittling all the effort that goes into empowering us to get there, but self-empowerment is more important than that.
Yes.
Because of fear, and we have been conditioned over decades and eras to think this way. It doesn't just go away like this, right? To be self-empowered or to have that kind of feeling, it takes a while. And so I really do appreciate, and women do appreciate the support system. So I'm saying we should not look at those opportunities as, that's not respectful of, my talent or my skill. Maybe it's not for you, but it still helps people who are not coming out of their shell. So that is still useful. But at the same time, it's sad that it's still there. So that's how I see it.
Yeah.
When there is no men in tech, seeing that there is women in tech means that something is missing.
Yeah.
And while I feel sad that something is missing, I feel the way to address it is being self-empowered. Of course, use the tools and everything that's available out there. We have to leverage all those. But coming out of all that and handling that, pushing the boundaries, and like I said, ignoring the feeling of do you feel underestimated, that kind of things. Ignore the noise, ignore everything else, and keep pushing forward towards passion, towards goals. And I think they do exist. Sometimes it's harder. Sometimes it's like, okay, I have to prove, like between men to men, it may be a different, like if there are 10 men in a room and there's like one woman out there trying to prove a point, or 2 women trying to prove a point, irrespective of what the men in the room think, it's natural if there is a negative sentiment, if there is let's say there is a no for one of the things that's being proposed by a woman, it's natural for the woman to feel that this is not what I wanted to hear. It's probably because I'm the only one in the room. It may stem from the fact that they are underestimating it, or may not. Giving them the benefit of doubt, it's only helpful for the woman to push the boundaries there and collect the data, go with data, like empower yourself with things that prove your point, not just to prove it, but to convince yourself why you want to do something the way you want to do it. If you're able to convince yourself that, and you have data to support that, not just data, but anything, a story or a relevant material, you're going to make your point. You're going to get your point through. You're going to get your point across to the people in the room. So keep pushing the boundaries, ignore everything else. That's the only way to empower yourself at this moment. Hopefully there'll be a day when there is no such thing. There'll just be people in tech.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the greatest thing about tech, that you don't know if there is a engineer who is coming from which country, but he is writing an app that is making us to go from one place to another. We don't know if that is a woman. We don't know if that is a man. We don't know if he's black or she's white. We don't care about it. But all we care about is the beauty of the code that he has written. Has he solved any kind of problem that we are facing today? And with one of the biggest and the greatest and the most famous example, that founder of Canva is a woman. She has cleared a lot of rounds of fundings and these kind of things. So I think we are into that era now that we cannot talk about caste or whether if somebody is male or female or black or white. But then this is the beauty of tech, where we don't judge people. Their work speaks how much real life problem they are solving for anybody alive out there matters the most. And I think this is what keeps me pushing towards tech. You have visited a lot of countries. Which was the country that you visited where you got in there and you got this feeling that, wow, there is a great cultural shift? Or do you have any such kind of experiences that you might want to share?
Certainly. So I have lived in the US for a few years. So when you live there and you visit a place, there's a different perspective that you hold towards culture.
Yeah.
So during the time that I lived in the US, I saw the first 6 months was really a cultural shift for me. A lot of things were different. More than culture, it was the weather difference that going from some of the southern Indian states to a place like New York City or Jersey City and places like that was really. I didn't like the snow, to be honest. I didn't like so much snow. I mean, for the first time, it was like, oh my God, this is how it feels when it snows. But then after a day or two, it's like, I'm done with it. Can you please make it stop? So for me, the weather was a big deal. But since we, as adults, we watch American television or other TVs or internationally, so we are prepared for the cultural difference. So more than that, the weather, food and other things. But food-wise, US was still okay. Like there were a lot of vegan and vegetarian awareness because I'm a vegetarian. That's a big thing for me. But before that, I traveled to China. That food difference was a big deal for me back in the day, and that too, the place that we visited was one of the developing areas in a city, in a rural place in China, and that part, it was really difficult for me to find pure vegetarian food unless I go to Buddhist temples and places like that. So. Food was the main thing. Culture-wise, I think I was slightly prepared for it. So, I was pleasantly surprised for all the good reasons.
One of the greatest thing that I could see, like, unfortunately, I could not attend it after even getting the invitation. That conference that happened of Google I/O at Las Vegas Sphere that we see. How was that feeling to be there? And have you ever thought that when you just kicked in for the first time for writing databases, you'll be with Google and witnessing that live? How was that feeling?
Being with Google?
I mean, that event that happened over there.
Cloud Next.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was phenomenal. And I've been attending it for since the time I've joined. But this time I got to speak as well in 2025. I was as part of the keynote. So at one of the demos for the keynote, and I spoke as part of it. And that was really a life experience, I would say, because I have been speaking with developers over years, right? Here also in India, when developer events happen, if you take events in Kolkata and places like that, they have massive developer base. Like they bring in people from nearby cities and stuff like that. They are eager, they are interested to come. So you speak to people about 3,000 or 4,000 in number, but this one was like hundreds of thousands because a lot of them, 40%, or no, I don't know how much of those were watching virtually. But a lot of people are looking at you and like they are listening to you for some reason about technology, right? So the things that I'm passionate about that I'm talking. So that was phenomenal. That was like an amazing experience.
So did you feel frightened, or how did you overcome that fear of going onto the stage of like Las Vegas Fair, which is already a hot spot in the earth right now?
Yeah. So interestingly, I was also surprised. I was only that feeling of fear was there in the rehearsals time or up until my name was mentioned.
Yeah.
The moment I got onto the stage, it felt natural because I'm talking to developers.
Yeah.
Up until then, you're talking to executives because you're rehearsing in front of executives. You're being recorded. I'm very camera shy when it comes to self-recording. When I have to talk in front of developers, I'm comfortable. That's my zone. Like I can talk to developers. I can talk to a group of people. Like not socialize in a way.
Yeah.
I'm not really that kind of, like, I don't know. I'm not, I'm awkward that way socially. But then if I have to talk about the things that I'm passionate about with developers, it feels natural. So I was surprised also. So the moment I got onto the stage and started addressing the developers, I felt like, okay, there's no fear at that point. After that, there was no fear.
Right. It's really awesome to address the people who think like us. And being a part of that community must be really an awesome feeling, I'm sure. So thank you so much for coming in Dream in Tech. We unfolded the whole history of databases today. it is one of the most informative session that we could ever have. If there is any budding engineer watching this will be a life changing for them. So thank you so much for coming. I wish you all the success ahead in the future. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, and you as well.
Thank you.